Am I in the right internet? Yes. Okay. Hola, manis. Welcome to Café con Pam, where we share our stories over cafecito. Yo soy Pam, and we bring you inspiring stories from first-generation Latinas, people of the global majority, y quien se apunte. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and ring the bell so you never miss our cafecito time. And hey, for more incredible stories, tune into the podcast también. Bueno, el día de hoy, this episode is brought to you by No Mono. This is the traveling capsulita que nos acompaña durante nuestro tour. Tune into the audio because if it wasn't for No Mono, the interviews wouldn't be as crisp as they are. Bueno, today we are diving into the incredibly important and emotional project that brings together art, advocacy, and the stories of those who have served this country, the United States, but have been forced to live in exile. Yo estoy aquí en San Diego, right on the US-Mexico border, where a powerful mural, the Deported Veterans Diaspora Mural, has been unveiled. This mural was created by Dr. Lizbeth de la Cruz Santana, and the mural spotlights the stories of 16 deported US veterans from 10 different countries. And it's not just about their faces, it's about their lives, their service, and the heartbreaking reality of deportation. Many of those veterans came in the US as children. They served with honor in the military, and yet they've been cast out, separated from their families, and the only country they've ever called home. In this video, I had the chance to sit down with Dr. Lizbeth de la Cruz Santana, the academic and artist behind this powerful project, as well as one of the veterans whose story is featured in the mural. We're going to hear their thoughts on the project, the impact of deportation on veterans, and why this mural is a call to action for all of us. So let's take a closer look at these stories, at the people behind the portraits, and the ongoing fight for justice for our deported veterans. Let's get into it. Sabrosura pa' ti que.
National President of LULAC, I welcome you as we gather to unveil the Deported Veterans Diaspora Mural. Today, we uncover the profound stories of sacrifice, service, and resilience behind each stroke of the mural. This mural honors countless veterans who, despite their unwavering loyalty, have been exiled from the very nation that they serve.
I want to send an extra special thanks to Professor Lizbeth Santana. Where you at, Lizbeth?
Right there.
Oh, okay. You inspire me with conviction and hope that when we as people recognize each other as worthy, we can accomplish noteworthy changes. You, along with the Leave No One Behind Mural Project, gave BDVA our first public platform. Again, many thanks due. You recognize that this wasn't just a Latin thing, it's an American thing. When you reached out with this mission to post a new mural on the new wall that would represent just that, all I could do was look to the sky, smile, and say thank you to the Most High. Because God continues to motivate my soul, and I thank you.
So it actually came as an idea when the Black Deported Veterans of America visited New York City, and they presented a film, and I attended, right? It was in New York, nearby my job, and they're like, hey, if you want to show up, I'm like, of course. So I get to meet some of the guys, right? Specifically guys from Kenya, Jamaica, Haiti. Wow. So for me, that was like so important because I've known of their stories before. We've stayed in touch on social media, but never in person, right? So I think that feeling of like, you know, relating to someone was very important during that time. So they approached me like, hey, would you be interested in doing a mural, but in Tijuana? And I was like, you know, I live in New York now, like the logistics, you know, and I was like, when am I gonna do this, right? It was my first year as a professor, so I had just moved cross country, so I was like, when is this gonna happen?
From where?
From New York, from Fresno, California.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, from Cali to New York.
Okay.
And, you know, I was like, you know what, they came out here, let's continue this conversation. So there's a fellowship that I could apply to in CUNY, and I decided to apply last minute. You know, I was on the road in California, and I had just come to San Diego. And I was like, I told my mom, hey, we're going to stop in Los Angeles to visit family, but I need to submit this form, like quick form, like it's already in my head.
Yeah.
I just need to submit. And I got it. Like they told me super quick, and then like I was like, okay, great.
Wow.
Let's do this.
Te tocaba.
Yes, it was meant to be, you know?
Total.
And I reached out to the guys. I was like, hey, are you all down to be a part of this? And everyone said yes. They're still deported globally. So I realized that many of the organizations that I'm collaborating with, like Repatriate or Patriots, one of their members, Nick, had gone to like Central America and captured some of these stories, like hard testimonials to listen to. And I was like, okay, well, I need those stories too, because a lot of the conversations about deported veterans is focused in Mexico. It's the reality, but how do we broaden up the conversation, right? So I had met in New York, veterans from the Caribbean, others from like, Africa, but what about, Central America? So this is where, I reached out to them like, hey, can you connect me? Give me names that you want. I have my idea of who I want included in this mural, but I need to broaden up because it's the best thing to do, right? We have veterans deported to 53 countries.
Wow.
And here we only have 10 represented, including the U.S., so 9 plus the U.S.
On average, how many veterans get deported?
Yeah, so unfortunately, right, which is something that we're questioning if it's real or not, but the U.S. does not keep track of how many veterans it supports. But I think that's not real in a way, because one of the veterans who's in the mural project said that, before he was deported, he was asked to fill out a form to self-declare as a veteran. So they do know, but we don't have that information, right? So we're trying to figure out how can we make the government give up that information. So we'll need support from lawyers and just people who know how to petition those forms.
I am managing attorney with Immigrant Defenders Law Center, where we have a program that's dedicated to providing holistic representation to deported veterans in immigration and post-conviction relief to facilitate their repatriation to the United States. For nearly 30 years, the United States has deported an untold number of our military veterans to countries all over the world. These individuals served in wars ranging from the Vietnam War to the recent wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. They were lawful permanent residents who were brought here as young children. Not only did they serve in the military, but home is in the United States. It is a country where they grew up in, the country where they spent most of their adult life in, and where their entire families and communities reside. The government must uphold the promises of citizenship made to our veterans when they enlisted in the military and were willing to put their lives on the line for the country that is their home.
I am Alex Murillo, U.S. Navy veteran. I am from Phoenix, Arizona, and I was deported. I was deported for a nonviolent cannabis offense after serving, in the U.S. Navy. So I am one of the deported veterans that got to come home. Unfortunately, we do have other veterans out there that are still waiting to come home. So yeah.
How old were you when you came?
I was a baby. So all my earliest thoughts and memories are me in the U.S. I grew up.
You didn't ask to come.
Yeah, no, of course not. Of course not. Yeah.
And so, why did you decide to enlist, go into the military?
Well, my reasons for joining the military were pretty simple. I wanted to make my family proud. I wanted to serve my country, and I wanted a chance at a better life. I wanted to go out and see the world a little bit, and then come back and be able to hopefully have a better chance, to do something. Once that I was in the system, and they told me, because I was sent to a federal prison camp. It was a camp that I could have walked away from if I wanted to, and I didn't walk away. I was just doing my time because I expected to come back home to my family. It never happened. The immigration, they picked me out of the camp, put me into solitary confinement, and they put me in the hole for 3 months, and then transferred me to a medium prison where you had actual razor wire, you had armed guards, you had, it was a real change in security and change in the type of atmosphere for me, because anyhow, yeah, so I had to go through that. Yeah.
How long was the process from you being picked up and to the deportation? How long did it take?
Well, I was sentenced to 37 months for my cannabis offense. That was 37 federal, so I had to do that time. But I mean, it was pretty streamlined. I mean, the government streamlined the whole operation. Like while I was doing my time, my federal time, they started processing me for my immigration deportation at the same time.
Immediately.
No, I mean, it was streamlined as far as like it was almost my time to get out. And they started it like just at the right time so that I would be getting deported as my time in the federal. Yeah, I guess. So yeah.
Did you get to say goodbye to your family?
Yeah, like in visitation and stuff like that. Cause I mean, like it was probably like an 8-month like my last 8 months in federal. You know, it was a process of me going to the judge, immigration judge, this month and then next month, and my time kept getting shorter and shorter, and the judge kept saying, I can't help you, I can't help you. At the end, the judge said, you know, Mr. Murillo, I'm gonna go on record here, and I'm gonna say from the letters that I have in front of me and from your history, it looks like you're not a bad guy. You got in trouble and you ended up in front of me, but your service to our country is to be commended. Thank you for your service. I am going to have to deport you now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so he told me, he went on record to say that. I always wondered why he went on record, but after a while I was like, I think that he wasn't in agreement with what he was doing, so he wanted to go on record and show that he was not, that his hands were tied, you know, because that's what he said. He said, my hands are, you know, because of, he said, like, because of the laws, the federal laws in our nation right now, my hands are effectively tied. Your service to the country is to be commended. Thank you for your service, and I'm gonna have to deport you. So.
How did your world change after that?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was it's a culture shock to be thrown to another country that you don't know. I had to relearn Spanish. You know, of course, I didn't have any really. All my family's already, you know, crossed over. All my family's immigrated already, and you know, so I didn't really have any family waiting for me over there to speak of, really. So, you know, it was hard. It was hard at first, but you know, finding that out, because at first when I was on the bus coming over here, on the bus, and I was still in shackles, and I knew I was getting deported, there was, like, I still had like a glimmer of hope that they would stop the bus, you know, and that they would say, okay, this guy is actually a veteran. He's gonna get to go home. He served his time. And that didn't happen. So when that wasn't happening, I was thinking, well, maybe am I the only veteran that this is happening to? I must have really messed up. I must really be a bad guy if this is happening to me, you know. I served my country and they are kicking me out. So all those thoughts were going through my head. But once, like, in Baja, once I was able to find other deported veterans, and I'm talking about, we were just 7 of us at the time. It was just 7 of us veterans at the time in a little bunker in Rosarito. And out of those 7 guys, 4 of us are home now and 3 are dead, you know. But from those 7 guys, we were able to find everybody else, and now there's hundreds and hundreds of veterans around the world that we've been able to find from that time.
And that's one of the things that Lizbeth and I were talking about, that the number's not clear. It's not documented how many veterans are being deported on probably the daily.
Yeah.
It's something that individually you have to come and say, I'm one.
Yeah.
So from your connections, how many people do you know how many veterans have been deported that you know?
Wow. I mean, I think the number was, I believe, between 300 and 400 on the actual, like, guys that have like a bio or something, that have, you know, shown up, raised their hand, or presented themselves somehow. It's like 300 to 400, I believe. But again, the numbers from the government, which we keep asking all the powers that be, how many of us have you done this to? We know they keep a record because every time that I went to immigration court while I was incarcerated, every time I went to immigration court, the judge would say, does anyone in here think that they are a U.S. citizen or that they are a U.S. veteran? Anyone in here? I would raise my hand every time, and the judge would say every time, that guy, grab him, put him to the side, and they would put me to the side and they would process everybody else and they would process me separately. So I know that we know that they're keeping track because they do it every time. So they're just not telling us.
What's your goal with this project, and what do you want it to
Yeah.
happen after?
So as part of this project, right, this is the third mural dedicated to deported veterans, right? The first one is located right next to where this mural is going to be installed in Plaza Tijuana, right at the initial point of the U.S.-Mexico border. And that project, still to today, is something that people ask me to talk about and continue its advocacy efforts for U.S. child arrivals. And there's a lot of echoes with this new mural, right? A lot of the guys were brought to the U.S. when they were children. And I would say almost every one of them, you know, was brought to the U.S. when they were babies, small kids. So just imagine, right? They learn the language, they go to school, Pledge of Allegiance, you know, they finish high school, enlist, right? Army, Navy, you name it. And they do their service and then, you know, something happens, you know, service-related crimes, and then it's deported. So it's very unfortunate, you know, when I first met them, I was just like, these guys are more American than I am, you know, because I'm Mexican-American, but, you know, I grew up back and forth between Jalisco and, you know, California. So, you know, my world is both countries, but for them, it's the U.S.
Wow.
Right? So today, right, even if it's digitally or in person in Plaza Tijuana, if you see the mural, scan the QR code. There's going to be a huge QR code right next to the mural that anyone who visits Tijuana could see, right? And the invitation is to scan the code. First of all, listen to the stories, right? Forget about the numbers, and let's focus on humanizing these stories, because oftentimes, you know, we always look for the data and the numbers because they speak volumes too. But it's hard to get that information by looking at UCIS, right? Or like anything government related. And what we're trying to do here is, yes, humanize the stories, but to also connect the storytellers with resources that they need. Or the family members of the veterans who have passed away, like mental health services. How do you cope with this when it was your father that got deported? You know, they're missing out on the grandchildren. Just basically, you know, getting in touch with that human story, which I feel was what helped me gravitate towards this project since 2016.
So I would tell all the veterans out there, all the soldiers out there, if you are a green card veteran, if you are an immigrant veteran, please make sure you get your citizenship. You earned it. You deserve it. It should be yours, just like it should have been ours. So make sure you get your citizenship. And to all the other veterans that are citizens, back us up. We are your brothers and sisters. We are in exile. We are missing in action. We've got veterans from Vietnam, Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, Iraq, and we need to come home. So brothers and sisters, help us, bring us home.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias por llegar al final del video. Thank you so much for watching and getting to this point. This project really is more than just raising awareness. It's about humanizing the stories of deported veterans and taking steps toward justice. These veterans truly gave everything for a country that turned its back on them. And this mural, it's a powerful reminder that their stories don't end at deportation. If you want to learn more, and I encourage you to want to learn more, visit the website where you'll find direct links to the multimedia stories created by the veterans themselves. Their voices need to be heard. They're going to be all linked right below. And remember, it's up to us to make sure their sacrifices are not forgotten. If you are in San Diego or in Tijuana, you can visit the mural and learn firsthand about the veterans' experiences by scanning the QR code que está ahí directamente on the murals. If you want to support organizations like the Deported Veteran Support House, I'm going to leave also links in the description below. Y como siempre, no se te olvide, like, share, subscribe, comparte, so we can continue telling these stories. Porque juntos, we're going to raise awareness, we're going to bring attention to important issues, and we're going to keep our voices being heard. Muchísimas gracias de nuevo for watching. Nos vemos en nuestro próximo cafecito.
Sabrosura pa' ti que